Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm in line with our previous colleague. The truth is, we all have been profoundly shaken by the events in Gaza. The level of destruction is unbelievable. This war marks the start of a chapter that is likely to affect millions of lives, both in the Middle East and further afield for years to come. Over 6 months of war in Gaza, around 208 workers had been killed, as mentioned before. Few of them have received as much attention as the 7 employees of World Central Kitchen, who died in targeted Israeli airstrikes some days ago. And I must say, this is tragic. I feel so sorry for them, for the families. But, Jose Andres is a Spanish chef. It's tragic, but it is not an anomaly. The killing of 8 workers in Gaza has been systemic. And I think this idea is very important when we have this debate. 196 of UNRWA colleagues, because I'm also a member of the Spanish UNRWA committee, have been killed since the war began in Gaza. Several of them were killed in the line of duty, including 2 recently when the Israeli forces attacked a warehouse that UNRWA runs where they store food supplies and other medical supplies. I know it sounds horrible, but in UNRWA, we have a death list, which is literally an Excel sheet with names and ages and details about those colleagues of ours. And it's quite bone-chilling to get that almost every day. And these are not just numbers. It's not just a list. It's colleagues of ours. It's doctors and teachers and engineers and web developers and pharmacists, drivers, people who did staff safety. And it happened everywhere, in the north, in the south, in the middle areas. Nowhere is safe in Gaza. No one is safe, including 8 workers. Then I must say, we must respect and honor all these humanitarian workers, but also the terrible killing of the 7 with World Central Kitchen give us, from my point of view, a terrible evidence. Not all the killings have the same attention. For example, I remember the 12th of 13 October, 6 months ago, more or less, when we had the confirmation that 9 UNRWA members were killed, all of them Palestinians. And this is a very specific and important detail. And for us at UNRWA back then, that was already a very high number. This is by far the highest number of United Nations aid workers killed in any conflict, in any natural disaster, the highest since the United Nations started working just after the Second World War. But every single life lost of any civilian in Gaza is a life, is a soul, a story, it's a dream shattered, it's a life cut short prematurely. It comes that this war has taken with it tens of thousands of children, the highest number of journalists, of medical workers. So every life, including the life of Palestinians in Gaza, should count. The number of people killed so far, report killed, it should shake all of us. Then the world has been instrumental calling for some accountability. I hope this allow parties to look at other questionable events through the same lens, starting with the bloodbath of Shifa Hospital, for example, continued by the massive executions and so on. Only between January and March, 563 Palestinians were killed and 1,523 others were injured due to the targeting of 8 distribution centers, workers and civilians waiting. Then, not only World Central Kitchen or even UNRWA, every single life lost of any civilian in Gaza is important. I have only 7 minutes, but I would like to say if you target, for example, healthcare workers, and if you target the healthcare system and healthcare facilities, you are demonstrating a form of psychological warfare, where you say nobody and nowhere is safe. Then I'm very ashamed and disgusted that those protection are not afforded to anyone trying to deliver aid, but also to civilians. I agree with our colleague. Coming back to the killing of 7 workers of World Central Kitchen, it's just impossible that IDF didn't know who was in the car. 8 groups working in Gaza, as he told, provide the coordinates of their movements to Israel Air forces via a system of the confliction which operates through the United Nations. Finally, for not make my idea so long, this seminar aims to propose actions or perspectives that we can adopt in this situation. Me, as a journalist and a journalism professor in a Spanish university, I believe it is necessary to accept that there is a cultural problem, a question of perception that normalize double standards in the West media's view. And the reality is that the media representation of Palestinian has always been dehumanized. Therefore, when a Western dies, there is a media and political reaction. And when the victims are Palestinians, there is at most a paternalistic reaction, but not a comparable one. The solution, of course, I would like the cut of commerce of weapons. But from the point of view of the journalism, the solution is quality journalism. And quality journalism has very concrete standards. One of them, very clear, give the voice to the primary source. And the primary source is the Palestinians. How many interviews do we see of Palestinians, politicians, of civil society leaders? Palestinian voice is not heard, and very important in the media. For example, we talk about what are we going to do with Palestine? What plans does the United States and Israel have with Palestine? What plans does Europe of the Arab League have? But will we do the same with Israel of the European Union, for example, or with the United States? Will we enter into a debate about what to do with Israel or the United States? No, the Palestinian voice must be heard. They must be have sovereignty of their own destiny. And when we get media and political recognition of the humanity of the victims, we will be in a position to act in a fair way. To do otherwise is to collaborate with the disaster and crime. Thank you very much.